Hi everyone, it's Maria Grimm, and I wanted to touch base with you on a question that is asked of quite often of me, but it is a sticky subject. So there are lots of opinions out there. I will try to keep my opinion until the end, but it is definitely a hot topic in this market in order to win your transactions and stuff. Does it benefit you to deal with a dual agent? So let me explain what that is. Dual agency is when a realtor represents both the buyer and the seller in a transaction. Dual agency was a useful tool back in the days that the MLS, the multiple listing service, where we advertise our homes for sale to each other as realtors to share with our clients and to find the right fit for our people that we're helping. So that used to be on paper, and it was published a couple times, once or twice a month. And we bought our first home that way. And I remember sitting and looking through that book and pointing out what we liked with our first agent and all of that. And that made sense in that gap of time for a realtor to represent the seller and the buyer, or to have that brokerage, the parent company, have in-house agency happening, because that was only published a couple times a month, so it was a way to spread the word and get the job done in a somewhat efficient and timely manner for our clients. So that's where dual agency began and became popular, and was definitely a model that was embraced a little differently than now, when we have our houses are entered into the system and they are mass marketed within 20 minutes. It's pretty much blasted out there on lots of large platforms. So truly, that dual agency situation has definitely changed a bit in this information technology kind of world. So that's where it started from. Now, in Ohio, our Consumer Guide of Agency Relationships talks about dual agency, and I'll go over it very briefly. The realtors in Ohio can represent buyers, and realtors in Ohio can represent sellers. Now, not all states are that way. Some states have attorneys involved in the process, but we do not. Not necessarily. It doesn't mean an attorney can't do real estate transactions in Ohio, but I'll get to that in a minute. The NAR put an article out in March of 2019, and bear with me while I read some of it to you, about dual agency. The topic of dual agency stirs many opinions within the real estate community. There are some agents who are dead set against it. Others say they absolutely have no problem with it. But having been a real estate professional, this article was written by a professional that had been in the business for 32 years. He can unequivocally say that many real estate agents have no idea how dual agency truly works. To clarify, when I say dual agency, I'm referring to one agent representing both the buyer and the seller in a transactions. In some states, dual agency can mean two agencies working within the same company as well. Most real estate agents understand the basics of agency law. We're required to take plenty of classes on that and update it periodically. If you are a seller's agent, you represent the seller. If you're a buyer's agent, you represent the buyer. When dual agency comes up, many real estate agents either tend to ignore the laws of their state or pretend not to know what they actually mean. First, you should know what it means to represent a client. You become his or her fiduciary, and everything you do as a realtor needs to be in your client's best interest. So fiduciary duty, that is what we owe to our clients, to do everything in their best interest, not our own. And all of those decisions need to be made by the client, the buyer, the seller, not by us, the realtor. You are their confidant. This means you're counseling on price, negotiating their best interests, advising on decisions, whether to have home inspections and what happens in the home inspections, and a whole myriad of other things that come up in a sale that our clients don't even realize we do. These are the normal duties of a real estate agent. So how do you, realtor, then counsel a seller on setting a list price when you also need to help the buyer get the best deal possible? Under dual agency situations, the real estate professional interests collide head on with their clients. So agents who practice dual agency either don't understand the gravity of this conflict, or they don't care. So then it talks about what kind of real estate agent you are and all of that, and feel free to look that up. That is a public facing document, March 2019, from the NAR to realtors. So the other part, and this is surprising, that Rocket Mortgage has an opinion on it, and this just came out in April of 23. So let me read to you the drawbacks of dual agency. If you are considering a dual agency agreement, now Rocket Mortgage is talking to the consumer, not to the realtor, like the NAR, National Association of Realtors, is talking to us as realtors. Now this is outward facing for you, client. If you're considering a dual agency arrangement, there are some drawbacks you need to be aware of. These include the following: misaligned interests between the agent and the buyer, because the agent commission is based on the sale price, and the price is that sale price is being brought to the table, and it pays buyer side and seller side. A dual agent may not be inclined to help the buyer negotiate a better price because they want to get a bigger commission. Misaligned interests between the agent and the seller. Although the agent and the seller want to get the best price, the agent may feel pressure to close the deal more quickly. Dual agents, conflicts of interest. Dual agents can't give advice to either side. They're supposed to be neutral in this. They cannot give advice to either side that they represent without creating a conflict of interest. There's an increased workload for the agent, which means limited availability. Dual agents take on twice the work compared to an exclusive agent, which means buyers and sellers have to battle each other for the agent's attention. The drawbacks can be overcome in certain situations, but you shouldn't pursue this arrangement if you aren't comfortable. And it goes on, are dual agents illegal in certain states? So in Ohio, dual agency is allowed. The NAR advises us against it because it's hard to be truly neutral in that situation. And the person that's profiting the most is the person getting commission from both the buyer side and the seller side. So, so that's kind of my opinion there. It's hard to be in that neutral position. And when I represent sellers, and my sellers will tell you this, it's part of every listing presentation that I give, is that is not my goal, is to be the dual agent. While I am a mother and I have 3 kids and I can certainly be that neutral party in those situations, I do not want to have to do that in a work setting. And my goal as a seller's agent is to sell the house for the highest price that the entire buyer's market will support. So if no one knows that the home is available for sale, then how can you ensure that it is selling at market price? So especially these last few years where demand is so incredibly high, you can spitball what that number is going to be, but you may be surprised at what comes your way. So I want to be your trusted real estate advisor. So putting myself in that situation is not a comfortable zone for me. I would rather have my seller make that decision and say, okay, you brought us a buyer. Can you find someone in your company that can represent the buyer? Absolutely not a problem. I have done that many times in my career, and it makes a nice transaction, and everybody feels well served. So also, as your trusted real estate advisor, I also want, if you are on the fence and you're an agent, also know that it puts you at risks. Fair housing risks specifically, you're putting yourself, You're putting your seller, because clients are held to those laws too. We cannot discriminate as to who can buy a house. There are protected classes we need to be aware of and all of that. So we cannot steer as to who is eligible to buy and who is not. And that goes right back to the seller. So you're putting yourself and your seller at risk when that partnership is formed. So not a comfort zone for me. I know everyone has their opinions and feels, a different comfort zone with that as a realtor, but know that you as a consumer, as the client, always are in control and always have that choice. So love talking real estate with you. Please don't shoot me for my opinion, but that's what's out there. Feel free to dig some more. Google is a great source for these kinds of discussions. Let me know if you have any questions. Feel free to reach out, and thanks for tuning in.